Okay, picture this. It's 1979. A commercial airliner full of tourists is on a sightseeing trip over the most remote, forbidding continent on Earth, a place planes usually avoid. And then, poof, it just vanishes. This is the incredible story of how one tiny little error led to an absolutely unimaginable tragedy. And we're talking about 257 people on board. That's 237 passengers and a crew of 20. These weren't business travelers or commuters. They were tourists, airline staff, folks who were excited for what was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime journey. They disappeared over this vast, white, silent emptiness of Antarctica, gone, sparking this huge mystery that would eventually uncover a fatal error, one that was hiding in plain sight the entire time. Now, this wasn't just some routine passenger flight. Air New Zealand Flight 901 was, believe it or not, a hugely popular tourist attraction. It was a spectacular day trip to see the frozen wonders at the very edge of the world. The whole concept was actually pretty simple and, brilliant. You'd board a DC-10 in New Zealand, fly all the way down to McMurdo Sound, get these breathtaking views of the ice and the active volcano Mount Erebus, and then you'd fly home that same day. No landing, just incredible, unforgettable sights. So, what on earth went wrong? I mean, how does a state-of-the-art plane with a really experienced crew just fly straight into a mountain? Well, the answer starts with a single, tiny, almost insignificant data entry error. All right, so let's walk through the chain of events here. It all starts a year before the crash, when a new computer gets installed. A single coordinate is typed in wrong. But here's the crazy part. This mistake actually shifts the flight path about 27 miles to the east, creating a safer route over the flat sea ice of McMurdo Sound. So for a while, pilots get used to this new, safer route. But then, just 2 weeks before the disaster, a captain notices the discrepancy. And the day before Flight 901 takes off, officials fix the error, unknowingly putting the plane on a direct collision course with a 12,000-foot volcano. This really gets to the heart of the problem. What the pilots had in their briefing documents, on their maps, showed a safe flight path right over the sound, but the plane's navigation computer, it was now programmed to fly them directly into a mountain. They were, in essence, flying two different routes at the exact same time, and they had absolutely no idea. So here's the crucial point. This fatal change was made at 1 a.m, just 7 hours before the plane was set to take off. And the most critical part of all of this? Nobody told the flight crew. They boarded their plane completely unaware that the route they had studied, the route they had prepared for, was not the route they were about to fly. So now let's move into the cockpit and see how this all played out. I mean, try to imagine you're the pilot. You are confident in your route, and you're flying towards what you believe, what all your paperwork says, is a wide, flat expanse of sea ice. The crew, believing they were in that safe corridor over McMurdo Sound, decided to descend below the 6,000-foot minimum altitude. They wanted to give the passengers a better view, and this wasn't that uncommon. But the problem was, the weather was getting much worse, with a thick layer of overcast cloud that was way lower than anything they were told to expect. And then they flew into this. It's called a sector whiteout, and it is a terrifying trap that's pretty much unique to polar regions. Basically, the overcast sky and the snow on the ground merge into one single, featureless bowl of white. There are no shadows, there's no horizon. It is literally impossible to tell what's up, what's down, or what's right in front of you. So they're flying at 2,000 feet, completely blind. But they weren't worried, and why would they be? According to their maps, their briefing, their entire understanding of the flight plan, all that was below and in front of them was the frozen ocean of McMurdo Sound. But a little bit of unease was starting to creep in. The flight engineer was getting concerned. They just couldn't see anything that looked like McMurdo Sound. His last recorded words were so simple and so chilling. "I don't like this." From the moment the alarm finally went off, that's it. That's all the time they had. The plane's automated ground proximity warning suddenly screamed through the cockpit. "Pull up! Pull up!" But it was just far, far too late. Only 6 seconds later, Flight 901 slammed into the side of Mount Erebus, killing everyone on board instantly. The crash was a massive national tragedy for New Zealand. But the desperate search for the wreckage? Well, that was just the beginning of a long and incredibly painful search for the truth. A heroic recovery mission, codenamed Operation Overdue, began almost immediately. You had teams of volunteers, police, dentists, pathologists working for weeks in these tiny polar tents right there amidst the debris, battling freezing conditions and scavenging birds just to bring the victims home. And incredibly, their efforts were just astonishingly successful. I mean, despite the absolute catastrophic impact and the impossible environment, they managed to recover and positively identify 83% of the victims. Just amazing work. Okay, but this is where the story gets really interesting and really controversial. The first official report, it blamed the pilots, said they were reckless, that they flew too low, but the public just wasn't buying it. So a second, higher-level investigation, the Mahone Inquiry, was launched. And it came to a completely different conclusion. It put the blame squarely on the airline for misleading the crew with that last-minute uncommunicated coordinate change. And the head of that second inquiry, a man named Judge Peter Mahon, he was absolutely scathing. He accused airline officials of a cover-up, and he famously said that during the hearings, he was forced to listen to an orchestrated litany of lies. Wow. So while this debate over who to blame raged for years, the tragic loss of Flight 901 actually led to some really crucial changes in aviation safety, creating a legacy that extends far, far beyond this one single flight. So why does the story from decades ago still matter today? Because the lessons learned from the ice were profound. This disaster led to fundamental changes in how flight crews are briefed, how navigational data is checked and double-checked, and how critical last-minute changes are communicated. Every one of those 257 deaths directly contributed to building stronger, better safety systems that protect millions of us every single time we get on a plane. The story of Flight 901 is just this stark reminder that in aviation, the absolute smallest error can spiral into the greatest catastrophe. It's such a powerful lesson in how multiple, small, seemingly isolated failures can all line up just perfectly to create disaster. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What lessons learned from that frozen landscape are still, right now, keeping us safe in the skies today?